I know you've seen these Coleman Mini Bikes. They're everywhere. You know, Walmart, Tractor Supply, Amazon, and I'm sure you've wondered, are they any good? Like, what can you really use these things for? I wondered the same thing, and now we're going to find out. I bought this one, I guess, 2 or 3 months ago, and I says, you know, I want to try trail riding one of these. Is it any good? So my previous trail bikes, I had an XR200 Honda and had a KX125 that I used to use as trail bikes way back when. So I haven't really done any trail riding or anything like that in years. So the cost of admission for these things is cheap enough. Brand new, they run approximately 800 bucks. They're all over the map. You can see deals for them for $650, you see deals for them for $950, but they average out around $800. This one I bought for $375 off of Facebook Marketplace. It had maybe an hour or two of run time on it. It's never been off-road. It's literally new. So I said, you know what, for that kind of money, I'm just going to jump on it, and if I get one fun, interesting day blasting around the trails, I got my money's worth out of it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this thing out and see if it's capable. I don't know. We're going to find out. Let me get this off the ramp, and I'll walk you around the bike, and I'll show you all of its various features. So these things come in a bunch of different varieties. This one is like specifically kind of for trail riding, but they'll have the same 200 engine, and they have versions with the headlight and like a fake motorcycle tank with storage. There's all different varieties of these, but they're all essentially the same. So the frames are the same and the engine is the same. The engine, so that's not your dad's Briggs & Stratton. It's 200cc overhead valve motor, makes 6.5 horsepower stock. They run really good. They did something on these bikes that I think is really interesting. I'm going to get to that in a minute. The motor, like I said, 6.5 horsepower out of the box. You pipe them, you carburet them, you're looking at like 9 horsepower. There's Predator engines. These things have like a global cult following. People do all sorts of stuff to these engines. But this one here is exactly stock, with one exception, and it's an important exception. These bikes are governed for a top speed of approximately 18 to 20 miles an hour. So they have gobs of torque, right off the line, but then you'll hit 18, 20 miles an hour, and then the governor kicks in, starts taking carburetor away, and next thing you know, it's just like it's flatlined. It's weak. But there's a simple $0 modification you can make by, some people use a zip tie. So there's a series of springs under the tank. You have to take the tank off of it, and the governor there's a governor spring, and you could defeat the spring by wrapping a zip tie through it, or what I did with this one was use stainless wire. Now just that one simple modification makes this a 30-mile-an-hour bike. So yeah, what do you do at like 18, 20 miles an hour? Not much. 30 miles an hour on the trails could be a lot of fun. So we're going to find out. So one of the features on these bikes that I really like is the drive setup that they have. So on a high gear only engine, you need a lot of torque multiplication to make the thing work. So in all ranges. So generally speaking, you'll have a small sprocket on the front and you'll have an extremely large sprocket on the back. The problem is if you're going off on the trails and you're going through dirt and mud and everything else, you're going to be dragging the chain through all of that debris. So what they did here was they use a relatively small diameter sprocket that's above the actual tire, and then they have a gear reduction setup with a jack shaft arrangement under here. So it's got a clutch and it's got this jack shaft here, and this is where your torque multiplication is taking place. So rather than have the big giant huge sprocket, it's all done here, and then they have a reasonably sized sprocket there. Now this is not the hot setup for top speed. If you're building one of these things, if you're going to hot rod one and you're looking for top speed, you want a torque converter setup. You want to lose all of this and you want to put a torque converter in there. The torque converter is basically a CVT transmission. But for our purposes and what we bought this bike for, that is absolutely ideal. And like I said, one of the things that I looked at and I says, this is some advanced thought that they put into this. So to me, one of the main appeals to these things is the brutal simplicity of it all. There's no transmission to mess with, no cooling system, no charging system, no battery. So it's the kind of thing where if you only use it occasionally, as long as you drain the fuel out of it, it can sit for a year, it can sit for 10 years. You pull it out of storage and you're ready to go again. The size of these, so I'm 5'10", 190 pounds, and it fits me perfectly. Yeah, you know, it doesn't give you that same control, you know, stance that you have on a full-size dirt bike, but just the same, if you just want to go have some fun, it's a perfect size. It's a really nice size package. So let me show you the controls on this thing. You've only got one brake. It's got a drum brake on the back. That's what this handle is over here. The smaller bikes, the 100s, and I have one of those with a 200 motor swapped into it. That's actually got a disc, but these are drum only on the back. You got a kill switch, simple enough, a standard twist throttle. So down here is your fuel shut off. So that's off and it's on, and this is your choke, and that's the on position for the choke. Only needs to run, generally speaking, for a couple of seconds on choking, and you can knock it right off. The bikes tend to start on the first or second pull no matter how long they sit. So let's fire this thing up. Good, running good. And then like I got a centrifugal clutch. Alright, let's take this thing to the woods and see what it's going to do. The kickstand is a nice touch. Go around the water. Now I've never been down these trails before, so I have no idea what we're in store for. I guess this is all rock. Okay, that was rough. Let's go find something a little softer than that. If I had known it was going to be so rocky, I would have aired down the tires. Okay, first problem here. Our pegs vibrated up. looks like this is just rock, just creek bed. This is rough. Head back the other way. But so far this thing is handling it. I'm gonna need a chiropractor. Okay, that's a torture test. I've never been here before. I had no idea that this was all rocky creek bed. I'm gonna head that way and see if I can find some softer ground. This thing is tough. I mean, it's really tough. Okay, that was not a good idea. Better planning next time. I've driven past this spot a dozen times and I see all these trails. They're not trails, they're like dry creeks. It's bad, really bad. But the good part is this thing is tough. Like, it would have gone harder than I was willing to go on this stuff. The muffler, if you're not careful, it wants to burn a hole in the back of your leg, but that's really not that big of a deal. The positioning of the pegs is too far forward to post on, so if you've got a real obstacle coming up, you can't, like, you know, just kind of stand up and ride the pegs. It's a little awkward like that. But then again, what I just did here, I don't think that's what this was intended to do. All right, I'm going to find some decent trails, but I think I got the general idea. This thing is tough, and in my opinion, I paid, like I said, I paid $375. Definitely got my money's worth out of it. At $800, I might be a little, you know, but no, this is a good bike. This is fun. Well, let me find a couple more guys that have these things, and we'll go on some real trails and go see what it's going to do. I hope you got something out of that. I hurt myself. I'll see you tomorrow. I think I may need surgery.